Well, hi everybody, and today, as you can see from the title, I want to link together the political shenanigans in the UK at the moment, the notion of process, because that's a word that keeps cropping up in the scandal, but just use the political scandal not as an hour and a 20-minute talk about politics, because I think it's beyond politics. People across the political spectrum are just fed up. It's not about that. It's about the way in which the word process keeps getting relied upon. And I'm using this as a metaphor or an embodiment, an encapsulation of the idea that in our society today, substance tends to get replaced by process all the time. So on this channel, I always give the example of bureaucracy and how, the computer says no is one of the skits on UK TV back a time. The idea that the process determines everything, and deprofessionalization's happened a lot. What used to be doctors, teachers, all these respected professions now have to follow all these endless protocols. And in politics, people hide behind the processes as happening at the moment. So I'm taking that notion of process from the current political shenanigans and then exploring the notion of process in how it's replicated in other parts of not only modern society, but the way we think. So in neuroscience and philosophy of the mind, process in various explanations is interpreted in different ways. So I'm going to look at some neuroscience that follows process as the be-all and end-all and actually thinks you can measure subjectivity to some extent in third-person objective data terms. So I'll quickly look at that. And then there's a philosopher of the mind, Thomas Metzinger, who argues that there actually is no self, and what we think of as ourselves is a concatenation, a conglomeration, whatever long word you want to use, of phenomenal impressions that we have. And they're organized in this self model, he calls it. And he develops from that this idea there is no thing as a subjective self as we've conventionally understood it. And against that, I'm going to look at it. So he reduces everything to processes within the brain. And I'm going to counter that with very quickly introduce some critiques, some criticisms of that notion. And then all the way through, hopefully woven throughout, you might be asking yourself, what's Hamlet got to do with all of this? Hamlet, as I'll explain as we go along, I think is really significant. If for no other reason, it's such a deep play. It has significance if you think of the UK politics as the Danish court. There's lots of politicking going on. So Hamlet's a political play. It's a play about subjectivity. And also it's a play, as I'll mention, about hypocrisy. But behind all of this, there's also the notion of the play within a play. So in Hamlet, it's called The Mousetrap, the murder of Gonzago. And within that play, within the play, there's also a dumb show before the play proper begins. So there's a mimed play before the play within the play. And Hamlet as a dramatic piece of theatre is also a play that we witness as part of our life, which can be interpreted in theatrical terms. So there's this recursive levels, these layers. And I find it quite ironic that in some of the most advanced philosophy of mind discussions, as I'm going to show you, it segues into neuroscience. And one of the theories I'm presenting is how they think there are various recursive levels of these models within models. And I'm pointing out I think the first version of Hamlet was 1601 to 3, roundabout, say, so let's call it 1602. So 1602-ish. That far, away, as Shakespeare had such a sophisticated understanding, arguably, of how the human brain works, because I'm going to argue that that's what Hamlet basically encapsulates. These various processes of how we conceptualize and think things through. At a neuroscientific model, this is how they approach it, and yet I'd argue it's replicated in Shakespeare's approach to, particularly with Hamlet, the play within a play within a play motif.